Welcome back to another episode of Prep Baseball Iowa's Canicorn Podcast. Canicorn Podcast, the only podcast with Parker Hageman and Rob Allison. And we have a special guest. First, Rob, how are you doing today?
Oh, I mean, it's been a good day. I thought I was battling a little case of the Mondays there for a little bit, but persevere, overcome.
You realized it was Thursday instead, and you're like, oh, darn.
That was the magic formula that just made everything okay. Oh, good Lord, it's Thursday. I'm all good.
Just a couple energy drinks and you're fine, right?
Yeah, definitely. Big coffee, 64 ounces of coffee. Woo! Here we go. All right.
That's good. Why don't we give a rundown on who we got as a special guest today?
I'd like to introduce everybody to Coach Nick Mishler, head coach at Des Moines Area Community College in Boone, Iowa. Coach, how's everything going?
Everything's going great. Just kind of wrapping up the competition part of fall and getting into the training phase here a little bit.
As you say that, kind of how do you guys break up your fall?
So right when guys get here, say that again.
No, do you look at just what are the different segments? What's the organization of everything from start to finish? Kind of how do you all piece it together?
Yep. So the first 2 weeks are, I guess, as much of an individual period as a JUCO would have, I guess you'd call it. And we're just teaching everything, making sure that they know how we do everything from catch play to warm up, all those things, pickoffs. I mean, it's a lot of it. Those are pretty boring days, even as a coach, but allows us to kind of get into things a little bit faster. And then we get into that competition phase that really takes us from, till about this last week was our last week of it. And now we get into our training phase that basically takes us through the end of the fall and we get back and we're rolling pretty quick because we play that first weekend in February. So we've been lifting all fall, but this is definitely the heaviest card the next 4 weeks. So they're hurting today. They said yesterday, one of our guys, they had a million squats, it sounded like, and they said 3 of them were sitting in the front row of class and all at the same time when they went to get up just made groaning noises or whatever, just ugh. And they just looked at each other and started laughing.
Coach, what's it like when you get some of these freshmen from high school on campus and they get introduced to some of the JUCO life?
Yeah, well, this year we have 30 new faces and most of them are freshman guys. It's good. I mean, I think it's as expected. They get sped up a little bit. Even the guys from higher class baseball, it's just a different speed. And then you have the sophomores that have been through it, and they move faster, they process information faster, and for a lot of them, and this is not a knock on high school coaches or anything. It's just we're doing stuff different. Their bodies become sore because they start lifting and they're not performing, and they want to impress their new teammates, that sort of thing. And I think it's pretty common that they may struggle a little bit. But we have a lot of Iowa kids, a lot of Midwest kids. They're tough kids, and they adapt fairly fast. Sometimes not as fast as I'd like, but it's good. I joke with my buddies at the 4-year level that just let me take care of these freshmen and get them ready for you, so you don't have to deal with freshmen anymore. Just joking around. Well, now with the 34, it seems like even more of those rosters are getting a little bit older. So I like it. I like helping them through those early days of college and figuring out the classroom and all those things that I definitely needed help with when I went to junior college. So it's good. I enjoy it.
You'd kind of brought up what is kind of what's kind of the look and feel of your roster? Is DMACC Des Moines centric, or kind of how do you piece that roster together? Kind of what are your avenues? What are you guys looking for?
Yeah, when I got here, I guess the easiest way is to explain it is my recruiting model was I wanted to win our area first. I think that's important. I think there's a lot of really good baseball. I came from the 4-year level and recruited a lot of the JCs around here, but didn't maybe understand how good the high school was. And in Des Moines, there's a lot of really good players. So kind of try to target that hour to 2 hour radius around us, and then expand throughout the rest of the state, and try to win those guys first. And then Obviously, we've had a lot of success in Minnesota and Nebraska. We have quite a few North Dakota kids this year. I'm from Indiana, so we'll have some Indiana guys. Have one committed from Indiana for next year. So kind of just start, trying to hammer out our area. We're on the road, as I'm sure you know, pretty much every day when we can, and just trying to get as many good players in our area to stay home, and then kind of work out from there.
You kind of touched upon it earlier with the new rule changes, obviously the NCAA. How, from your perspective, has the intake and then also moving the guys on, how has that changed?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The interest this fall still has been, and I guess the amount of Division I schools and 4-year schools I've seen out has been just as much or more than any other year, quite honestly. For whatever reason, I feel like a lot of our guys commit in the spring or summer. I mean, I think we had 15 total guys commit to Division I schools last year, and I think we only had 3 at this point in the fall, or that committed in the fall. So for whatever reason, I think that's our guys tend to commit a little bit later, get interest a little bit later, which is fine by all means. But I think, early on, like the top end guys seem to be getting the same attention that they would normally get. The conversations I've been having with a lot of guys are that they're probably going to continue to recruit JUCOs pretty heavy. I think as you look at this is me speaking out loud. I could be completely wrong, but I think you're going to see more and more. You're starting to see it on social media and stuff already of kids that were committed that are not committed anymore. And those guys are most likely going to end up at a JC. And the JCs are already flooded with talent, I think, more than they were before COVID. And it's going to continue to get more and more talented, where they're going to be forced to have to continue to recruit our kids that are going to be 21 on campus, as opposed to the 18-year-old that normally was going to one of those schools as a freshman and then either making it or going into the portal.
With the rule changes at Division I, and this might be a 2 or a 3-part question, so you need to stick with me, Mish, on this. One, do you think your experience and your background at the Division I 4-year level has been beneficial for you in regards to helping your guys get placed then at the 4-year level after their time spent with you?
Yeah, 100%. I think I tell recruits all the time, I don't think being a Division I assistant makes me a good coach. Hopefully there's a lot of other things that make me a good coach. My players would probably be better to answer that question, but the connections I made, obviously, being on the road every day with guys, obviously understanding what it looks like for a player to be good enough from a talent standpoint, but also a makeup standpoint to play at those places. And then I think also, just like the freshman that comes here and everything's faster for him, like being able to prepare them for what that actually looks like. A goal for us is that no one leaves our place and goes to another place and doesn't know what a weight room, the classroom, just how to handle your business, what that all looks like, just to set them up for success as much as possible. But I do think from a connection standpoint and being able to talk to schools and kind of give them information on a guy based on what I would have looked at when I was at that level and what I think probably plays at that level, I think has been good and definitely helped our guys.
No, absolutely. To have that perspective, and you've been there, done that, knowing exactly what those 4-year schools are looking for and what they need, along with preparing your own guys to this is what it's going to look and touch and feel like. This is what you have to be prepared for. I'm sure that's a huge bonus and resource you're able to provide.
Yeah, no, I think our guys, the common feedback from our players when they leave is like, hey, basically you were right, which they hate saying that to me, but hey, you were right. Like, this is how it works. And I see my teammates, even some other JC guys that maybe don't feel like they're as prepared for this because they didn't have a full-time strength coach like we do. They didn't have, they didn't even go through an individual period. That's part of the reason I like doing individuals those first 2 weeks. So they understand like, hey, this is what it looks like, everything that we do. Right. And so we try to do everything as much as possible like it's going to be for them at the 4-year level for sure.
With the rule changes, has it changed anything you do in regards to recruiting high school kids? Has it changed your calendar of when you start reaching out to guys? Has it changed the type of guy? Has the type of guy changed for
Yeah.
you? Are you able to tap into maybe a different talent subset? Like, kind of how has it affected you in regards to ultimately bringing players into DMACC?
Yeah, that's a question I was probably answered like 8 different times, 8 different ways this fall, because I feel like every week, usually I'm pretty set in my ways, like just how I was taught. And when it comes to recruiting and everything, like we have a plan and we usually stick to it. However, like I would say we've been way more patient this fall. Like the guys that we know fit our mold, and would be guys we want, even if some of these guys that are committed start to decommit. We're going after those guys. We've got some, we haven't got some. But I do think that we've definitely been more patient in what we're doing. We've probably offered some walk-on type opportunities to some guys that maybe in the past we would have given money to, just because, I mean, listen, there's guys that we're on right now that are senior futures game guys that have 0 Division I offers and throwing 93 miles an hour. It's blows my mind. So, I think it has changed from the type of ability that is available still, especially on the pitching side of things. So I would definitely say we've been more patient, if anything. Our mold, or I guess the kind of guy that's had success at DMACC and that we typically get, I think those are still the guys that we're getting to say yes to us, whether they are the guy that's a little more flashy or the guy that's maybe a little more blue collar and kind of had to beat the bushes down to find. Those seem to be kind of in our sweet spot.
What constitutes a DMACC player to you? If you're out recruiting, you're like, hey, these are the characteristics we like to look for. And I know it's a full team, full roster. You're gonna have different things, but like, are there some attributes that you look for more than others?
Yeah, for sure. I think things change as time goes on, and throughout my coaching career, I'd say like the big thing for us from a position player standpoint is like we want to be as athletic as possible. I think obviously Rob came out and saw us this fall. I think probably positionally this is the most athletic roster we've had. Obviously athleticism isn't always going to turn into a great ball player, but I believe with our development style and what we do here, guys that are super athletic make adjustments faster. Obviously that's the first thing, and then arm talent, all those things. But for me, it's I guess when I think of a DMACC Bear, it's guys that have more of a gritty blue collar type attitude. We're very honest and upfront with who we are. I want this to be an extremely enjoyable experience for all of our guys, but also they need to understand like, hey, we work very hard. We do baseball all the time, and when I say that, I mean like that involves the classroom and our community service, all that stuff that we do. And so we're looking for guys that want to do baseball. Like they want to play baseball at the highest level. There's a few questions I ask when guys are on visits every single time. And basically I tell them like, hey, if you do not want to do this at the highest level, you'll be miserable here. You will not like it because we do a lot of baseball. If that's what you want to do, you'll love it just like every guy we have on our roster. And so I'd say, guys that are just, I don't know, baseball rats, if that's the right word for it. But guys that want to do it at the highest level and have that kind of drive and makeup. Obviously, you got to be good teammates and all those things. We say a lot, hey, we're never going to recruit a really good baseball player that's a bad person or a really good person that's a bad baseball player. You have to have both. And, I think, we've had a lot of smaller school kids like Brody Cresser or even Reed Stallman. We've had a lot of 1A, 2A kids that have come here and had a lot of success when they leave. I think Jackson Manning is next in line to be one of those guys, and a few more. So I think we've had good success. That's kind of been our sweet spot, but we go out a lot. For me, it's obviously it's junior college. Your roster is a little bit bigger. So there's times where we're going to take a shot on someone that maybe we've only seen online or one time, but we try to get out and see, especially our scholarship guys. We want to see them a bunch. We want to see how their teammates interact with them. Are they good players that when they get in the dugout, their teammates want to be nowhere near them? How do they play when they don't know I'm there, right? Like I spend a lot of time going to games and I'll try to hide down the line or sit in my truck so I can see like, hey, are they playing hard even when they know there's not guys there to see them? In today's world, it's easy to be sold have a false sale or whatever you want to call it. And the guy he plays hard, and then you show up and no one's there and he's dogging and he's not playing hard. So we just try to find the guys that fit our culture. And I say it all the time to recruits. Like if I bring the wrong person into our apartment building, I'll have a team full of guys ready to come after me. So
This is going to be a meandering follow-up question, but Rob and I have talked about this on different episodes where, well, you said athleticism, right? And small town kids, and we see them within the ranks of prep baseball, like, hey, the kid's an athlete, but he might have not been focused on baseball his entire high school development.
right.
Does that kind of kid appeal to you more so where you know that you've got a player development system in place, you've got your weight room, all that training? Like, I'm not saying it puts ahead of other kids, but does that give some credit to who they are?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess when I look at the success of our players, like those guys have always done really well. Jake Tilgis was one of those guys that was at Johnson, football guy. We thought he was going to go play football, and then comes here and ends up going to VCU and getting to play in a regional and start in a regional game where they beat East Carolina. So like guys like that we've had, and I could go down the list, but I don't know if I would say it gives them an edge. Like that one for me is always like, I think that it probably does. Like if it's between them and another kid that's only been playing baseball for 10 years and they're of equal ability at that time and equal athleticism, I'm definitely going to err on the side of the guy that's been playing multiple sports and hasn't just sold out for baseball, just because I would assume he's got the best chance of getting even better. But like I also don't hold that against kids that, hey, I've sold out for baseball. I didn't like playing football, or I didn't want to get injured, whatever it may be. We've also had guys that have been focused on baseball for a long time do very well here as well. So I do think if it comes head to head between two of them, I would probably favor towards the guy that's been playing multiple sports. But if it's head to head between two of them and one of them is clearly better at baseball, that guy still is going to be the one we go after for sure.
Right. Well, and I guess there's a little bit of a caveat to that. You just mentioned a guy who plays multiple sports. Like I've always been a big proponent, and we've talked about it before. Like, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree, but obviously we're looking for multi-sport athletes, multi-sport guys that can perform at a really high level in various things. I think sometimes people twist it into multi-sport participators.
Yeah, exactly.
But like a prime example for me was always like, especially in his younger years, was Ty Langenberg from Urbandale.
Yeah.
Good frame, athletic kid, had arm talent, wasn't always the best on the mound, scuffled here and there, was raw in some ways, had some things to figure out. But the one key point, or what kept me dragging me back to him, started at quarterback for Urbandale as a sophomore in high school. Urbandale's a huge school. I'm sure they got plenty of kids that would be more than happy to take snaps. And even though I thought there were some red flags and some concerns, like that type of multi-sport athlete just was always super intriguing to me.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think it reminds me a lot of Anthony Pothoff for us. I mean, the kid literally played in a state tournament game in football, basketball, baseball every year from his freshman year till I think senior year. Might have been COVID mixed in there where he got snubbed in basketball his senior year. But, I think again, and Caden Schwabe, and then obviously he moves on to Bradley. And I think, one thing I didn't mention, like when I talk about a DMACC player, and I think it fits into this mold too, is like guys that win. I mean, I think that's what, with Ty too, is like he won a job as the starting quarterback, but he also came from a winning program that obviously won a couple championships while he was there in baseball. But like, I think, we look at our team last year that goes to the World Series. I mean, you can go down the list of guys that not only were in the state tournament for baseball, but did it in wrestling, basketball, golf, like whatever it is, like when they got in tight moments, like throughout the course of their lives, they've been winners. And I think that matters. Like you get into tight games. That's something I learned from Coach Stankwitz when I was at Grand Canyon. Like the importance of recruiting people that come from winning programs, it does matter. Like they get into close situations. And then when they're doing that in multiple sports, like those guys, again, Anthony Pothoff, we throw him in the conference tournament and there was like zero doubt, hey, he's going to go out there and just be himself. Like whether he wins the game or not, that was up for question. But I knew exactly what we were going to get out of him. He was going to go out and compete. He's always been his best in those moments, but he did it in 3 different sports for 4 years of his high school career, right? And probably did it in whatever Pee Wee League before that. So, like, I definitely think that matters. I definitely think, for him and or all of our guys like that stuff, when they get in those situations, that's usually when they're their best because they're experienced in it.
No, absolutely. Total agreement with that. The obviously you're not really winding down the fall. It just is transition from one phase into the next, and ultimately
Right.
you're probably just trying to get to a point, get them home for Thanksgiving, get through classes,
Yeah.
make sure everybody's squared away. Probably you're all going to need a vacation away from each other
Yeah.
over Christmas break.
Oh yeah.
But going through all this in the fall, do you feel like who are maybe a couple guys that have stood out to you, either from the jumps they've made this fall or just their overall workload and production?
Yeah.
Who are a couple guys on your roster that you think are doing really well for themselves?
Yeah, I think from a sophomore standpoint, and these guys had good freshman years, but Caden Frommel and Jackson Manning have had really good falls, and as they've progressed throughout the fall, I mean, their last 3 to 4 weeks of the competition phase have been really good. Carter Bryan's a guy that I think led our team in hitting, and he's a guy that had very limited at bats as a freshman. Was kind of more of a pinch runner and got some at bats here and there, and I mean, he's had an unbelievable fall offensively against some really good arms too. Then on the mound, Carter Woolhams, he was our number 2 last year as a freshman. He's been great. Connor Entz, same thing. They've both made big jumps. The velocity's starting to tick up. The strikes, Carter's always filled it up, but the quality of strikes, and then with Connor, like, he was probably as raw as anyone we've had, and like, he's really filled it up. The slider and the changeup has been a huge addition for him. That's really starting to turn the corner. And then obviously we get a guy like Ty Thompson, who just committed to Kansas, and I mean, he's made adjustments really fast, starting to compete down in the zone a little bit better. Now we just, again, guys like him and some of these newer guys, like, I'm excited now to get them into this training phase where we can focus a little bit more about the slider, and they don't have to worry about going out and competing basically every time they get the ball, it seems like. So it's good to get into this phase. From a freshman standpoint, and again, to have been a surprise, I guess I would say, and we thought he was a good player before he got here, but Jake Esplin he goes to Puma and hits 2 backside home runs, and I think he's got 5 or 6 home runs on the fall, and has really taken off, like, just small adjustments that have really helped him. And he's taken off. And then Cole Baumgart is a kid that has been really good from Clarinda. I think kind of went under the radar a little bit just because he had an arm injury playing football, and he's looked impressive. Blake Crancer from Illinois, Wally Crancer's son, he's been really good too. And I could go down a lot more, but those would probably be the handful of guys that have really stood out and just made, like, massive jumps. But I think all of them have gotten better, and I think have a shot to be pretty good here as we get through the training phase and clean some swings up and some pitching mechanics, that sort of thing.
Rob, Ty Thompson stood out to you pretty good, right? Wasn't that one of the names you were talking about from at least a development standpoint of, like, when you saw him as a junior in high school to what he was this fall?
Oh, Ty Thompson?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in high school, he was pretty much just a baby giraffe.
Yes, he was.
Tall, super skinny, gangly, awkward in some ways, still trying to figure out his body. I mean, his transformation over the last 2 odd years has been monumental in a lot of ways. Like, he's, and obviously he had a good fall. He checks a lot of boxes, left-handed, 6'4", 6'5". Load, up to, where did he end up popping out this fall?
He clipped a couple 94s, but 90 showed a decent amount of 93s and was kind of more in that 89 to 92 range.
Yeah, a big body, left-handed,
pretty easy.
A little bit of velo,
Yeah.
bring some secondary pitches to the mix. Like, just checks a lot of boxes. I'm sure he's going to get some sort of MLB follow contingent this coming spring, which is all good things. I mean, it's
Yeah.
options and opportunities, and so it's cool for those guys and just how they develop and how they change, and not really the finished product, but the product they are as a 20-year-old versus a maybe a 16, 17-year-old kid.
Yeah, I think he's proof that some of these guys that when they are 16, 17, you're like, I don't know, can still make huge jumps. And obviously, with the new rules, the days of recruiting freshmen and seeing freshmen commit are kind of gone. But like the amount that these guys can change still from 16 to 18 and then from 18 to 21 is pretty crazy. And Ty is a pretty darn good example of that for sure. Because he's twice as athletic, twice as able to make adjustments that I would have ever guessed when I saw him when he was 15, 16 years old. That was kind of always my question mark. But he's made adjustments very fast since he's been here, which has been cool to see.
I think the final question I have for you, Coach, is obviously the ICAC, the Community College Conference in Iowa, is an absolute bloodbath.
Yeah, it is.
You have so many quality teams, quality players. Pretty much when you go into the spring, every game matters. Like it isn't really as much with how they change the schedule. You don't really have those fluff midweek games to try to
No, yeah,
gear up and get ready for the weekend. But ultimately, with all the teams in the ICAC, and I might be painting you in a corner, but what's the differentiating factor with DMACC? What does DMACC bring to the table that you think is different or gives you a leg up versus your competition?
boy, you did paint me into a corner there. Listen, like, and this is honest to God, this is what we tell our players is like, or our recruits is like, we generally don't concern ourselves with anyone but ourselves. Like, we refer to anything that is not the DMACC Bears as the other guys. Like that can go as far as the weather, right? I mean, our guys have fun with it, but I mean, generally, I think what you're going to get with DMACC is you're going to get a coaching staff that does understand. I mean, and this is not a knock on lower level non-Division I schools. Like we love our guys that go to NAIs and D3s and D2s just as much as the ones going D1. But I could tell you for a fact that none of our guys come to DMACC to leave. Like they're coming here, they want to go play at the highest level possible. And if that becomes a really good Division II or NAI school, we're fired up for them. But they're going to get a coaching staff that's going to prepare them to go to the highest level and have success there. They're also going to get a head coach that has experience at the Division I level and has an understanding of what that looks like, but also is able to help them in their journey to get to those places. So, I'm sure. And again, like there's a lot of really good coaches in our league, like a lot of guys I have tons of respect for. And by no means am I going to sit over here and beat my chest and say, we're the only option. But I think that we are a good option for guys. I think we're doing as good as anyone. I think when you look at where our guys are going and the success they're having when they go there, I think, this is something that I've talked about with many different people. I think at the junior college level, I mean, I want to win the last game of the year more than I want to breathe. And I think pretty much all of our coaches want to do that. Like, for me, our success still has to be based on what do our guys do when they leave this place. Every one of my players came to DMACC to leave. And I understand that. Obviously, I think I look at things sometimes a little bit different from the standpoint of I came from the Division I level, and we're probably a little bit more open to some freshmen leaving at times and that sort of thing than some might be. But at the same time, like I know they came here to leave. My job is to prepare them for that. And if they're leaving and having success, then I feel like we've done a good job. And we'd spend every day preparing our guys for that. I love JUCO from the standpoint of I think it's the purest form of baseball. Every guy on our roster and the rosters around our league is still fighting to play for something, whether they're getting a ton of playing time or not. We had a guy 3 years ago that had like maybe 15 total at bats, and it was something that he knew coming into it. We gave him an opportunity, ended up getting the scholarship money to a good NAIA program and had a ton of success there. And that's just as important to me as the ones that are going Division I and having success at those places too. Obviously, it's cool when you get to see guys like Ben Nipple win national championships with LSU and Austin Murr. Austin Murr is another one, by the way, that multi-sport champion and a lot of things that didn't look like was going to be a ringer out of high school and then turned into a pretty darn good ball player. So we have our niche of guys, and they do pretty well when they get here, I think.
All right, I'm gonna ask you our take it to the house question. Since we're in October and this will come out before Halloween, Coach, I want to know, what is your favorite Halloween/horror movie?
I'll be the first to admit, like, I hate horror movies. Like, it's one thing I've never understood. Like, why do I want to be scared? Why do I mean, I don't sleep great the way it is. Like, I don't need to lose any more sleep.
So you're not watching Saw?
I mean, if I had to choose, I'd probably say one of the Saw movies. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
Maybe. I got to stick through one of those. I've made it through one of those without losing too much sleep, I guess.
Rob said Hocus
My follow-up will be, what is your number one favorite Halloween candy?
It's got to be the Reese's Pumpkin. The Reese's, anytime it's, the Reese's Pumpkin, those. A little more peanut butter in them. Yeah, it's in the shape of a pumpkin.
Okay.
Just like they have the Reese's Christmas tree one. I mean, those are, it's a little more peanut butter. I think it's pretty good candy. What's yours, Rob?
Well, on a previous episode, I think Twix was number one.
Really?
Snickers was in the mix. And any form or fashion of the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. So it could be the Christmas tree shape. It could be the pumpkin. It could just be the
original.
Bare bones basic. And, I mean, we taped that like a week or 2 weeks ago. What I'm most concerned about, Mish, Parker Hageman's number one Christmas candy, Halloween candy.
Better not be Milk Duds.
No, it was something horrendous, like 100 grand bars.
No. Twix was the number one. I said a top three, and 100 grand was number three.
Okay.
I don't think you've had this. This is why you're shaking your head like you have.
I don't think 100 grand's that bad. I gotta be honest. That's the one with the pretzels in it. Pretzels in it.
Yeah, it's some nougat or something. Yeah, I'm gonna bring you one. I don't think you've had it yet.
If we would have went top energy drinks, that would have been a better topic for me. Gotta be honest. Okay,
then all means. What are you hammering then?
I mean, right now it's the C4 Jolly Rancher flavor. I mean, I could. Yeah, those are dangerous. The C4s are the flavor match on those is second to none. I mean, it's a good energy drink.
And then you're like a hummingbird running around the office after that. Is that kind of the?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically how I survive. 30 new guys. It's 2 C4s a day for sure.
Well, Coach, I thank you for your time. I mean, we're going to follow you in DMACC and see how the whole season plays out. But appreciate all your insights and everything. Rob, any final words?
No, I mean, really appreciate you jumping on. I know you, especially at the junior college level as a coach, you're jack of all trades, master of none, have a lot of responsibilities and different things going on. So thank you so much for taking the time and jumping on with us.
Yeah, well, we appreciate I appreciate you having us, and I appreciate all the coverage that you guys do for JUCO guys, and obviously in the state. And we're using what you're putting out for sure. It's valuable information, and appreciate all the work you guys are doing as well.